We welcome all who have joined us here this morning, and so begin our service. Our worship service today is led by Chaplain Dave Becker, who invites us to remember all of the ways in which we nurture love and peace into full bloom as we honor Julia Ward Howe's Peace Day Proclamation and celebrate the century-long UU ritual of flower communion. We are thrilled to recognize and honor a member of our community, Devi Madaus, as she leaves for the Peace Corp. Love and peace are in bloom at Tree of Life. We begin this morning by acknowledging that the land on which Tree of Life Unitarian Universalist congregation stands is the unceded territory of the Peoria, Potawatomi, Miami, Ochecti-Sakowin, Ho-Chunk, and Kickapoo peoples. Today, our meeting place in Illinois is home to many Indigenous people, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to gather on this land. We will now light our chalice. While Jesse Bowen reads our chalice lighting words, you are invited to light your own chalice at home if you would like.
This reading is adapted from words by Claudine Oliva. We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one, baby, child, or youth, into adulthood, to celebrate those who have committed time, money, and energy to the growth of others in this world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love.
And now please join in recalling our purpose. At Tree of Life UUC, we nurture a community that welcomes diversity, supports the spiritual growth of its members, and acts to create a more just society.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Cameron. Good morning. My name's Chaplain Dave Becker. I use he, his pronouns, and I'm the congregational pastor here at Tree of Life and at our nearby sibling congregation, Prairie Circle in Grayslake. It's always an honor to be here with you and a privilege to be here with you. We just welcome each of you and all of us in the fullness of who we are and in all our complexity, the complexity of our identities, the complexity of our experiences, the things that have brought us here this day and this morning. And want to take a moment on Mother's Day to mark how beautiful and complex it can be to be mother and be mothered. To those who have mothered, we thank you. To those who rejoice in the work, the role, the presence of mothering and mothers, we celebrate you. To those who are in the thick of parenting children at any age, we appreciate you. To those who experience loss through infertility, miscarriage, abortion, adoption, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who have lost their mothers, we grieve with you. To those who have endured abuse at the hands of their mothers, we acknowledge you. To those who experience pain at the marking of this day, we witness you. To those who are single moms, grandmoms, stepmoms, foster moms, adoptive moms, mentor moms, spiritual moms, moms of all genders, we need you. and to those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. May we reflect on the wide spectrum of mothering that happens in our lives and in our communities. And those words are as a reflection entitled The Complexity of Motherhood, written by Reverend Leah on Gary. But in 1870, there was a Mother's Day Proclamation of Peace by Julia Ward Howe. And it was significant because this was 5 years after the end of the Civil War. And it's hard for us, I think, today to really recognize the scale of the pain and the loss and the devastation that happened during that war. But if you took all of the soldiers and all of the U.S. Citizens that had died during World War I and had been killed during World War II and had been killed in the Vietnam War and added them together, you would come close, but you would still be short of the total number of people, of soldiers that were killed during the Civil War. And Julia Ward Howe, during that time, served as a nurse. And she also took time to work with children who were orphaned throughout the country, no matter which side of the war their families had served on. So she had seen firsthand this loss and this devastation. And so Julia Ward Howe, this prominent American abolitionist and feminist, Unitarian, a poet, author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, called on women around the world to gather for peace, for a Mother's Day proclamation for peace. And it goes like this. Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husband shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our son shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. I'll say that line one more time. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, and each bearing after his own kind the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of women without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. It was quite a vision. Please join me if you, oh wait one moment, sorry. We're going to open, our opening hymn is going to be hymn number 167, Nothing But Peace Is Enough. It's in our gray hymnal. And it was written by Jim Scott, a UU musician. And he was inspired not long ago, well, for some of us it doesn't seem long ago, in 1986, hundreds of people joined in the Great Peace March for global nuclear disarmament. Hundreds of people joined together, many from the US, many from other countries, and walked 3,700 miles from Los Angeles, California to Washington, D.C. And UU musician and composer Jim Scott wrote this simple song, Nothing But Peace Is Enough, a song that people could sing while walking and marching in the Peace March from Los Angeles to Washington. So please rise as you're willing and able in singing 167, Nothing But Peace Is Enough. It's a very short song, so we'll sing it 2 times through. Thanks.
Good job, everybody.
Be seated. Reverend Norbert Chopek was a liberal Baptist minister who first came to the United States as an immigrant and as a refugee, along with his wife Maya, who at the start of World War I, because his life was in danger as a result of his writings, which contradicted the official state religion, he and Maya came to the United States. And while they were in the U.S., Norbert and Maya became active in the Unitarian Church and faith. And so when the war ended and Czechoslovakia became independent, Norbert returned to Czechoslovakia to found a Unitarian church in Prague. And Maya became an ordained Unitarian minister. So Norbert began that first flower communion at his church in Prague in 1923. Oops. Oh, wait a second. Now, the significance of the flower communion is that no 2 flowers are alike. So no 2 people are alike. Yet each has a contribution to make. Together, the different flowers form a beautiful bouquet or form a beautiful field of flowers, a beautiful ecosystem. Our common bouquet of flowers, our common garden of flowers, would not be the same without the unique addition of each individual flower. And so this is the way that it is with our church community. It wouldn't be the same without each of us. So the flower communion is a statement of our community. By exchanging flowers, we show our willingness to bridge differences that might divide us. Each person takes home a flower brought by someone else, symbolizing our shared celebration in community. This communion of sharing our uniqueness and our beauty with one another, to give and to receive. Now, during the rise of the Nazis in Czechoslovakia during World War II, Maya returned to the U.S. to raise funds for Czechoslovakian refugees and asylum seekers. And while she was here, she brought the flower communion with her. Norbert remained in Czechoslovakia And when the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Norbert's preaching just of inherent worth and beauty of each human being to be, as the Nazi court records show, too dangerous for the Reich for him to be allowed to live. So Norbert Schopek was sent to a concentration camp, and it's said that even there, he found a way to hold the flower communion ceremony with his fellow prisoners, finding whatever flowers they could find in the weeds at the camp. They testified to a beauty larger than themselves and that would outlive them. And so even though Norbert was killed a year after his arrest, his message of human hope and of human decency lives on through the flower communion, which is widely celebrated in Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world. So this is more than a beautiful ceremony. It is a beautiful ceremony, but it's more. It's a reaffirmation that's occurred across generations that we're part of a larger community, that we're part of a greater beauty, that we're part of a continuity of the struggle for an ever-widening liberty. In our hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, we have a beautiful and haunting hymn written by Norbert Schopek, a hymn of wonder and mystery, a hymn of togetherness and beauty, in which he says, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art. I'm going to invite the Madaus family to bring the flowers that have been gathered today for flower communion to the altar. And while they're bringing them forward, we're going to sing the hymn written by Norbert Schopek, number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. Please rise if you're able. You can be seated. Whenever Reverend Schopek would conduct his flower communion in Prague, he would say this blessing as he consecrated the flowers. And so we remember and speak his words today. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. You can remain seated, and we will sing number 402, From You I Receive, To You I Give, and the words will be on our slides as well. We'll sing it 2 times through. Ryan is going to call out the names of the people that we have joining us online today. And as he says each name, I'll place one of our flowers that were brought by all of you into this vase.
John Murphy. Alan. Amy. Raymond Beth, Deb Matthews, Jane Hebert, Jenny Sabelik, Laura, Phyllis McClendon, Sandra, Sandy Light, and Sandy Parsons.
Thank you so much. I'm going to bring the baskets out, and it will be a little bit like a reverse offering. Instead of putting something in the basket, you'll be taking something out. And while the baskets are going around, Cameron is going to play again from You I Receive to You I Give. He's going to play around with it a little bit. Once the baskets are empty, what I would invite you to do, and Cameron will still play for a little bit longer, is to exchange flowers with someone. And if you find that you don't have a flower, you can pantomime. Give your beautiful imaginary flower. Oh, and I've got a helper. And if you now have a flower, feel free to exchange with someone near you, or if you would like to get out of your seat, that's okay too. But we'll spend a bit of time giving and receiving our flowers to one another. A reminder that we do give and we do receive. Together we share, and from this we live. May these flowers remind us that even in difficult and challenging times, we are surrounded by gifts to share, to give, and to receive. That even in difficult and challenging times, there is a light of beauty within us and within each other. There is the light and beauty of community. We are all beautiful. We are all beautiful. Thank you. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. I invite us to continue to breathe slowly, to breathe deeply, to take a moment to center ourselves, to ground ourselves, to hold some of what we've heard so far this morning from each other, to hold this community and each of its members in our hearts. There's so much that we hold in our lives these days. And it seems fitting on this day in which we began with the Mother's Day Proclamation of Peace to join in a prayer of peace and peacemaking. A prayer, a meditation, a reflection. The history is complex. The politics are intense. The fear and anger are overwhelming, and the future is unclear. But glimpses of a hopeful vision will not be bombed into oblivion by anyone. In prayer and meditation, we call to mind the peacemakers, neighbors of differing faiths, with differing histories, with differing politics, with different emotions, who find room for each other in their hearts, in their dreams, and in their lives. Those who hold firmly to a vision of peace and justice anywhere in the world, but especially today in Israel, in Palestine, in Gaza, in Rafah, in college campuses across the U.S. and around the world. Spirit of life and love, be present with all those who are suffering terribly from the violence in Israel and in Palestine. Lift up the hearts of those who fear and inspire courage among the peacemakers. Be present with the political leaders, ensuring a retreat from violence and a procession towards the peace table. Guide the hands of all those who are caring for the injured, the hungry, and the grieving. And open our own hearts to compassion. Remind us of our own complicity and responsibility, and lead us towards generous engagement, and move us always, always towards the vision of peace. May our love and our faith call us to be peacemakers in our community, in our own lives, in our households, and in the world around us. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. And whenever you're ready, you may open your eyes if you have them closed. The Peace Corps, like the flower communion ceremony that we celebrated today, is also rooted in a vision of the power and beauty of the diversity of people. The Peace Corps strive for what is possible by working with, living alongside, and celebrating the diversity of people, of cultures, and of countries around the world. President John F. Kennedy Jr. on the University of Michigan campus in Ann Arbor in 1960 challenged the students to serve their country in the cause of peace by living and working with others around the world. The students who heard him that day responded, and in less than a year later, the Peace Corps was launched. Currently, there are 2,400 Peace Corps volunteers serving in 58 countries. Today, we celebrate a member of our Tree of Life community and family who is joining and continuing in this work, Devi Madaus, who will be leaving for the Peace Corps in June and teaching in Mongolia. And so we've invited two of our members who are retired Peace Corps volunteers to share a little bit about their experience and offer words of support and encouragement for Devi. Julie Huddle and Devi's grandfather, Whit Sears. Julie.
Namaste. Mero naam Julie Huddle Ho, Malay, Peace Corps Swams BK Ho. Hello, my name is Julie Huddle, and I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer from Nepal, serving as a forestry volunteer. And I lived in Pokhara, about 200 kilometers from Kathmandu, which you've probably heard of. You might not have heard of Pokhara. About every other day, I would go to the vegetable Takari market, and I would buy fresh food because we didn't have any refrigerators, or I didn't. And so there I would bargain for vegetables until I met my friend Hema there. Hema and Lakshmi was her friend next to the next door pasal or shop. And so I would go there, we would drink tea, And I mentioned to her that I missed home quite a bit, and I missed my mom. And she invited me to Mata, I'm gonna look here so I say this right. Mata Triti, which is the Nepali Mother's Day in May. And it kind of revolves around the story of a boy who lost his mom, and he would go to this pond near Kathmandu, and he would lose his lunch every day. And he's like, what's going on? And he looked in the water, and he saw the face of his mother there. And so the Mati Treaty is a holiday where you see your mother's face. And so Hema invited me to go celebrate this with her Nepalese Mother's Day with her mom, her ama, and her sisters. So I met Hema at her apartment, and her mother was there, her sisters were there, and we celebrated there. We celebrated at her mother's house. It was very wonderful. And I wrote about this in my Pokra News. Now, I don't know if you have how you plan to stay in communication with your friends and family here, but every week I would write my Pokra News. And it was amazing how many people were waiting for that email. So I encourage you to stay in communication with people here, because making and strengthening connections is a big part of Peace Corps. Hopefully you've learned some skills as far as deep listening. Those will serve you well in another country. I am not an expert in the Nepali language. I think you just heard me say all the Nepali I know or remember. But being able to listen with your heart and your gut is really important. And the other thing is to pack light. I have another story about the grandmother who came to stay for 3 weeks and brought a large purse, but that story will have to wait for another day. So congratulations and good luck on your journey.
Thank you, Julie. And would you like to come forward and share a few words?
It was very thoughtful to put this mark on the floor. I've been sitting here thinking about what I might say, and I really didn't come up with much. Some of my memories are funny. A small ceremony where we lit candles and walked around the crematorium. Problem is it was windy. The candles kept going out. There was a place, the school where we worked was right on the river, and the river was full of catfish, giant catfish. And it was fun to just feed them. I tried to think more, but I don't have anything more to say. It was a wonderful experience for me and my wife. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Whit. And if there's anyone else, I'm not going to invite folks up to speak, but if there's anybody else who either served in Peace Corps or served in AmeriCorps, if you would like to either rise or raise your hand so we can just acknowledge other folks in the room who contributed to peace in that way. Or any of the folks online. We've got one in the back, yeah.
I'm Heather Madaus. I'm Heather Madaus. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here to witness and acknowledge Kat Gabrielson, who served in the AmeriCorps, and she is the granddaughter of Larry and Ann Dilly. So I wanted to acknowledge that she also served some time in AmeriCorps. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, one more.
I served twice in AmeriCorps. Very first time I served in AmeriCorps, I was previously married, and I lived right outside of Tazewell, Virginia, in Coal Country, and I assisted in running a Big Brother, Big Sister program. Did that for a year, and it's great. I met great people, drove up and down mountains, met amazing coal mining families, and it was just, I was glad to do it. It was a nice introduction to the area. And then when I came back to Chicago, I served for a year in AmeriCorps again with Literacy Volunteers of America, and mainly worked with immigrants. And my favorite person was a Polish man who had come to our apartment, and I taught him English enough passable to live his life more completely. That's all I have to say. I did it twice, but I did it here. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to invite Devi to step forward. I forewarned Devi that I would be doing this. And I just want to recall, Devi, you would not remember this, but probably, because you would have been young at the time. But when you were a child, this congregation, our congregation and community, made a promise to your family and to you to help you love justice and live with compassion, to show you kindness and courage, and to encourage you to live your dreams. And here you are, a person who's making a commitment to live with compassion, to live with kindness and courage, to love justice, and living out your dream of joining the Peace Corps and going to Mongolia. And we continue to promise to support you and to encourage you. And so I'm going to invite the congregation, all of us together, to just enter into a space of dedication and of hope, of promise and of love, as we offer a blessing to Devi, to this member of our community, And so I'm going to ask the congregation, all of us, if we can just lift up our hands and repeat after me. And the words are up on the screen, so there's a cheat sheet. So that's like, what did Dave say? I don't remember the full sentence, but I'll say the sentence and then we'll repeat it after. And this is a blessing for Devi. May all your work be a blessing to this world. May everywhere you go be blessed by your presence. May love always hide and guide you. May you know in your heart that we all are with you. Devi, by offering this blessing to you, we're celebrating the wonder of who you are and who you're becoming, the sacredness of your life, and the love that has always and will always hold you. We're saying that we're joyful that you're here today, that you've been part of this community's lives, and to remind all of us that through everything that happens in your life, that the loving spirit of this congregation and of our wider faith will be with you and will be with your family. We wish you love and peace in your journey ahead. We're going to sing two hymns squished together as one. 159, This Is My Song, and 318, We Would Be One. They have the same melody. The words will be on the screen, so you don't have to worry about flipping back and forth. Please rise as you are willing and able. And Debbie, if you would like, you can return to your seat.
I will now extinguish the chalice. If you have a chalice or flame at home, you're invited to do the same. We extinguish this flame of communal worship and now carry its light within us.
In many church traditions, the final benediction is usually some version of "Go now in peace." It's a phrase I heard every Sunday for many years of my life. So today I want to say "Go now in peace," but when I say "Go now in peace," I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say "Go now in peace," I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say "Go now in peace," I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say "Go now in peace," I mean go in peace, seeking justice. I mean go now in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say "Go now in peace," I mean the peace that asks us to stop grasping after power over. And I mean the peace that demands that we live fully, that we love with a fierce love, that we hope with a bold hope, that we pray and we sing and we struggle. And when I say "Go now in peace," I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. So, go now in peace. Go in the peace that Julia Ward Howe called us to. The peace that Norbert and Maya Chopek dreamed of for their community, for us, and for future generations. The peace that Jim Scott sang about, that nothing but peace is enough. Nothing but peace is enough. And so I say to us all on this Mother's Day and this day of Flower Communion, go now in peace. Go now in peace. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. And Cameron has the prelude.